councillor Donald Graham.
I'd like to propose yourself, councillor Hinton.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. All in favour? Oh, any other nominations? All in favour? Thank you. I'd just like to say just a brief thing about Donna because I won't take up too much more of your evenings, but Donna has been a fantastic chair of RNA. She gets involved in every project, particularly down at Freeman's Meadow and the Adventure Golf Course down at Mill Meadow. She's always been involved with parks, and from the moment she became a councillor, she was a friend of the Recreation and Means Committee and worked really hard on it. And she was absolutely fantastic chair, and I've enjoyed working with her when I was chair and she was vice chair, and then a few years ago when we swapped around. I think it's sad that she's no longer on this committee. So, moving on with the election of vice chair, and I would like to nominate Councillor Eggleton. Seconded by Madam Mayor. Any other nominations? See none, all in favour? Unanimous. So we'll move on to the apologies for absence. We have apologies from Councillor Buckley, Councillor Miller, and Councillors Hooper and Farm. Are there any declarations of interest or anything on the agenda this evening? I see none. Move on to public participation. I also see none. So we move on to the minutes of the last meeting, which you can find on pages 5 and 6. Are there any amendments that need to be made? Any corrections? Can I have a proposal for the minutes, please? Thank you. All of those in favour of accepting them? Thanks very much. We'll move on to the progress report. So the first is Makin's Recreation Ground. You can see that the grant's been approved. And that there's a slight shortfall. So if you know anyone that wants to give away 1.5 thousand, that would be great. Okay. Riverbank repairs. Actually, Sheridan and I have met with Thames 21 twice recently, with you looking at establishing this area as a suitable bathing area. Is that the right? Yeah, bathing water status. That's it. And it's obviously an agenda item. And the final one is Town Hall banners, which we have to have in place by the donation. That being all on progress, we'll move on to finances. Does anyone have any questions, queries, any comments about the budget? About the management accounts? No, I see none. Are we all happy to accept them? Move on. Thank you very much. And that brings us to agenda item number 9, steps into the river. And you can see that we've got a report starting on page 13. Do you want to speak to the report at all, Sheridan?
I think the report probably speaks for itself. Really, I don't really have much to add to it, really, unless there are any questions.
Are there any questions?
One if I may.
Of course.
There is steps that go down into the river by the bridge, while they're going into the over the lock. Now, I don't know if the people on the corner of the house or the one by the little wooden bridge have just accommodated that. They put a gate in there and they put a large platform across to so they can put their boat there. Now that has always been open in public ground. I used to swim in there when I was a kid. To me, that would be an ideal place for access to swimming. But my other concern is where do people going to leave their clothes when they go swimming? If it's put up by this big tree. Might somebody come along on a bike, pinch your wallet, pinch your purse, pinch your handbag.
Needless to say, everyone will be responsible for their own belongings and whether they leave them in their cars or whether there's a member of the family that keeps watch or whatever it might be. Yeah, they certainly have to be responsible for that themselves. I don't think we can take any responsibility for anything like that. We won't be providing lockers or anything.
No, no. One of my concerns, people leaving the cow and all that on the bank whilst they're in the river. And somebody come along.
I think certainly we'll need to think about the guidance that we give people on appropriately and safely using the access in and out of the river, definitely, and that will be one of the things we'll need to consider. Absolutely. Dave.
Yeah, it is what Mr. Carr just said. I think they've sort of adopted this bit because it's where the washers and it's all sort of like they got holiday, I think. Because it's well, the silt's all gathered in one area. And I think it does need looking into. It might not be our responsibility, but it needs to be put into the right direction. Because obviously, if someone uses something at a certain period of time, then they can take ownership of it. So if we've noted it, then we'd be wrong not to actually pass those information forward.
No, yeah.
Could I confirm, where are we talking about?
Remember the wooden
Lane.
bridge, remember the wooden bridges, which is
Right.
closed at the moment. Well, if you're walking at the, just as you go over that wooden bridge, off the footpath from the riverbank, it's, you
There's
look to your
poor
left, it's
maintained
just
trails.
that.
I had to say,
Okay,
I
so-
thought that belonged to the house.
The
No, it
steps-
doesn't, it doesn't, no.
I think that's the issue that came up when it was built.
Either way, it wouldn't be town council property.
No, I'm just saying, as the council know about it, wouldn't it be right for the town council to notify the relevant authorities?
I think that it was flagged up at the time. I can get some of the information. Certainly, I know, like, it came up at the time because I'm sure I heard through Ben, but I'm certain that the steps belong to them.
No.
That they created the steps. The steps were there when I was a kid. I remember, like you, we all went, that's where we all went to.
I think it was
in the
just
Thames
done
children.
for, originally, sorry, Dave. I think originally those steps were put in because boats used to come in and pull in. And it was just for people to get out because it's got a high bank there. I think that's what they were put in for. They weren't put in for any Pacific House.
They certainly own the land.
On the other bit,
Yeah.
but they've tried to extend it.
Well, we could, you know, I'm happy to look into it privately, but it's, yeah, I don't think it's.
I think as a town council, if we got knowledge of that, I think it'd be wrong for us not to pass it on to the relevant authorities if it's nothing to do with us.
No, I understand that. We maybe speak to the Environment Agency, but should we get back to
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
area as well? Do you want to add anything? No.
I was just going to say, so the steps that you, councillor Eglinton and councillor, sorry,
Clark,
sorry, seen you in a while. Councillor Clark, we're talking about there is a jetty leading onto, it's a private jetty. I'm not 100% sure on the steps, but I know that the residents of that property don't really want people going on to their jetty. But just leading back to this, I think the space that we are talking about is actually in Marsh, which the council does own. So I think that's where we're ideally looking at putting the steps.
So you can see the recommendation 5.1. There are 3 points to that. That up to 5,000 be spent from capital expenditure for the installation of the steps in Marsh Meadows. That the council apply for a certificate of lawful development for the proposed step ladder at Marsh Meadows. And that subject to the approval of the expenditure and obtaining the necessary permissions, contractor A be appointed to install the step ladder at Marsh Meadows. Councillor Lambert.
Proposed acceptance of 5.1.
Fantastic.
We'll second it.
Seconded by councillor Eglinton. All of those in favour? Fantastic.
It's going to be by the wishing tree, isn't it?
Yes.
So if they leave their belongings, they can hope that they'll be there.
Yeah.
Well, at least they can wish.
And if they get taken, they can use the healing glade to.
Get over it.
Don't really know.
Okay, so we move on to agenda item 10, which it seems like it's a real mammoth agenda item. The Mill Meadows Management Plan, and hopefully everyone's had a chance to read it. There aren't any major, significant changes to the report. It's something that we need. It's, there's been a few updates. I think Becky pointed out some updated pictures and such. But we need this in place as part of obtaining the green flag status. It's something necessary that we need to have. Councillor Eglinton.
Yeah, I think well done for Parks for what they've done down there and getting the green flag again, 2023. It's one of the things that highlighted to me is number 2, making it a welcome place and access and signage. I think the signage that's down there, if it can be sort of like graded in so it's aesthetically pleasing, so it blends in with the environment, but having that full impact.
I think that's a fair point. Any other comments or suggestions or councillor Clark?
On the signages, can they be cleaned up sometimes, because a lot of them are dirty.
Well, you want to see some of the Oxfordshire County Council signs, they'll show you what dirty signs are, blimey. You'll come back to Mill Meadows and ours will look sparkling in comparison. But we take your point, thank you, councillor Clark. Okay, let's move on, we don't need to pass anything for that, do we? It's just to note the management.
That's a very good question. I'll just double check on the agenda. Is to approve it.
Oh, it is to approve, okay, sorry, I just didn't see anything. So are we all in favour of approving this? Yeah.
I would say yes, and just carry on, park service, just carry on what you're doing, because you're doing it well.
They are. For the jewel in the Henry Town Council crown. And last item on the agenda, historic information boards. Again, you've got a report. Is there anything you want to add to the report, Becky?
No, I don't think so.
Last page. You go to the very last page, it's right on the back. And then, well, the recommendations right on the back, and then the report starts the page before. Are there any, councillor Lambert?
Yeah, there's already a blue plaque for Humphrey Gainsborough on Christchurch Centre wall. Is that where the board is proposed to go, somewhere near that?
Yes. Any other questions or comments? You've had a lot to do with these days. Is there anything you want to add to?
I didn't actually know anything about this, funny enough. I'm gonna just, because I only had this agenda, because I never had an agenda sent to me. And
I don't see.
I know you, I didn't say you didn't send it.
No, but you can't always trust in your
No, no,
postal
I
service.
didn't get it, so I had to pick one up
Inside.
today. So this, I'll take it just revising from this, it's a civil war plaque, so it's talking about the civil war in Henley.
The subjects of the next board be Humphrey Gainsborough, but down by his blue plaque.
Yeah.
So continuing on from the last one, and Henley's role in the Civil War.
Oh, right. So I've
Sounds
not,
right up your street.
it is, but no one's actually said anything about this, so this is the first of my knowledge about this extra plaque.
It's for two extra plaques, two extra boards, sorry.
So no one's,
So the recommendation in 5.1 is that 2,600 be allocated from the capital budget for two historical information boards for the town, and that the subjects of the boards be Humphrey Gainsborough and Henley's role in the Civil War. That the town clerk be given delegated powers to confirm the content and location of the boards.
so
As we've dealt with
the
similarly.
location is on the grounds outside, obviously where Humphrey Gainsborough was the.
Where the blue plaque is around
Yeah,
there. I mean, it will need to be worked out with Christchurch, obviously, and also that area, the wavy
Yeah.
paved area, is obviously nothing can be put there.
No,
So if that will
so
need
it's
to
just
be worked
a
out.
location, but whoever's dealing with it is, I didn't know anything about it.
Viv Greenwood called me about this the other day or yesterday. So I think well, I know she's definitely involved. So I thought you might-
Oh, yeah, well, I was involved with the plaques, if it's the same plaque.
Yeah, it's the
I've been
same
involved.
boards as the other boards that
I've been
we've done,
involved,
that
but
we've
no
already
one's actually-
funded. This is the next two.
No one's actually contacted me to let me know about these plaques coming forward.
But why would they? Why, none of them, no one's contacted me about them, but
Well, the reason I'm saying this is because I was the start of these plaques in the beginning, from the first one on Gainsborough. And then it's just a follow on of all these plaques, and I've worked on every one of them.
So he was just surprised to learn that there were two more without his name. We've already done how many? 6, 7?
7.
7. So this is be number 8 and number 9, which I think is doing a fantastic job of preserving our heritage and history. Councillor Lambert.
Yeah, I was going to propose acceptance of 5.1, although I would say that given that we don't know where it's going to go, and we've got to open negotiations on that with Christchurch, then maybe we should have some involvement. So delegated to the town clerk, fine, but surely in consultation with yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Or Becky.
Or Becky,
Viv,
yeah.
yeah.
Working on
Just
it.
that we know before.
Exactly, yeah, makes sense. You're happy with that?
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
if you're proposing that, I'm happy to second it from the chair. So everybody in favour of these boards?
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the end of the meeting. If you give Viv a call, she called me the other day. We kept missing each other. It was one of those days when we all kept missing the calls.